I shouldn't say this, but I personally believe so all the molecular biologists, we are doing everything only for funding to get a life out of this. And like PhD, the agriculture, I believe agriculture is like a PhD.
Yeah.
Some season you will get results, some season you won't get anything.
Yeah.
And
European farmers, I mean, I see that they are quite, not, I would say rich, but yeah, they are
they're rich.
prosperous.
They're even richer than us.
Indeed.
Professor, if they can do here, why can't we do it in India? We have money, we have time. If we can.
We do have this scientific mind in India, like everywhere, because as I said,
Yeah.
jugaad, we use this jugaad, so why not use it in farming land as well, agriculture?
You can go to all these Ambani, Adani, big industrialists, or at least Mahindra. I think Mahindra will fund if Ambani, if not Ambani, Adani, Mahindra will for sure will ready to fund.
If you can introduce yourself to our audience from your background as well as like bachelor's till, or maybe let's start from your high school. How was your high school journey or school journey?
So first of all, I'm Bikash Raul. Now I'm a postdoc here, working here in Institute for Biology, and I'm doing research in many plant science, basically about root nodule symbiosis. So coming to your question.
Yeah.
So I'm from a very ordinary background, and I did everything in. So I'm from Odisha.
Okay.
There is a small city called Cuttack. So I'm from there, and I did my schooling in a Odia medium school.
Okay.
So until 10th, we have, so in Odisha, until 10th, you can do everything in Odia. Then in 11th and 12th, we call it junior college, like in Maharashtra. Then there, you have to switch to English. So school was nice. That was the best part of my life, I would say.
Any like memory kind of thing, like which was fun as well as some learning experience
In
from
school, you know, learning, you don't really think about learning at that time, right?
Yeah.
So the fun part was, on Saturday, we used to have half days. So, but in my family, in my home, everybody knew that I have a full day on Saturday. So after the school, we used to go to the river there. And
Typical Indian kids.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
So till date, I think they don't know that we have a half day.
Okay.
That's
And was it like till your high school or?
Yeah, high school. High school, yeah, means 10th.
Okay.
Until 10th.
Yeah. Okay. And how did you get this kind of inspiration or let's say motivation to pursue science?
Pursue science, yeah. So,
yeah. Because I mean, what I hear from many people that from their high school already they got motivated to pursue science. So was it like similar to you as well or something different?
I did not have such motivation during my high school.
Okay.
I used to like history a lot in my school.
Okay.
Then like the family pressure. So I got good numbers in 10th board. Then my father was like, your friends who have secured lower numbers than you, they are choosing commerce and science. Why you are going for arts?
Okay.
So, but I sincerely wanted to do history at that time, but he just forced me to do something in science.
Okay.
Then I joined science 11th CBZ.
Okay.
Because I thought that with PCM you had this IT. So that time in Odisha, if you take PCM, then you have to read IT, and if you are taking CBZ, then I don't remember what to choose. So yeah, it was good. Then I chose CBZ. Then so after 12th we have all these exams, right? So I like appeared in this medical entrance, but I did not secure anything.
AIPMT that time, I guess.
So I don't remember now.
Okay.
Because I don't have any good rank. Then at that time we have an institute in Odisha. We call that. So there is IARI in India, Agricultural Research Institute.
Yeah.
Then we have in Odisha OUAT, Odisha University of Agriculture and Technology.
Okay.
So I appeared in that exam. I got a good rank, but for some reason I did not join at that time. Maybe because the college that I was getting, that was a bit far from my home city. So at that time I did not want to go there. And yeah, I am still feeling homesickness. So at that time you can imagine what was the mental state. Then I stayed there, did the plain BSc, and I wanted to join the best university that we have in Odisha.
Okay.
So in 12th, I could not secure good grades in my 12th board exam.
Okay.
So then I got botany. Okay. Then after that, I'm just doing botany.
So you got interested from your undergrad, let's say bachelor's degree.
Bachelor's in final year.
Final year.
Because
Okay.
until second year, or let's say fifth semester, I was thinking of doing appearing all these exams like IBPS, CGL.
Okay.
Then there is SSC.
Yeah,
SSC,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
All these exams. I was preparing for that, but in final semester, then for some reason I started to read a lot about botany. Then
Okay.
I got a seat in almost every university that I had given entrance exam at that time. So then I moved to BHU,
Okay.
Banaras.
Yeah.
Then after that, then BHU, the environment is
Yeah,
quite
indeed,
competitive
indeed,
there.
yeah. So before that, you were not really exposed to kind of research environment.
no,
It was just like a kind of regular academic,
Yeah.
educational thing rather than research based.
Yeah.
So then, how about like BHU? I mean,
BHU, yeah.
people know that in India, BHU is like Banaras Hindu University is well known, a renowned university, and research is also really nice there.
Yeah.
But I don't know how it is in botany department or agricultural department.
I don't know about agriculture in BHU, but in botany they don't do. Now they're not doing quite like the research quality there is not too good, I would say. But in past, like in let's say in 1980s, 90s, the research was quite good in.
Okay.
And the BHU botany department is like they had pioneered many things in India. Like ecology, the father of Indian ecology was from botany departments.
Yeah.
And they were also doing a lot of this research, nitrogen fixation research on bacteria over
Okay.
there. So that's why I hinged to this nitrogen fixation part from there, BHU department itself.
So like your master thesis part or
No, so master thesis I did on a very different topic because all these people who had done good research on nitrogen fixation, they were not there, or they had already retired, or they were dead at that
Okay,
time. So yeah, so I didn't had any option. But yeah, I like, and one more thing, like if you see biology books in masters or in bachelors, you don't get much information about nitrogen fixation
yeah.
because it's a very new field. You will only get to see 1 or 2 pages of text about nitrogen fixation.
yeah.
That's all. So then I moved to this New Delhi, and so even in New Delhi, I went to this institute, National Institute for Plant Genome Research for Ph.D. It is one of the best institute for plant research in India. I would say it is the best institute in India
Okay.
for plant research. So I wanted to go in light signaling, but the scientist whom I approached, he had already somebody in his mind. So that's why I went to the scientist with whom I did my PhD.
Okay.
And she was also I was her first PhD student.
Oh.
She was brand new.
Okay.
So then we started the journey. It was really
And your PhD research was also like kind of related to nitrogen
it
fixation.
is totally based on.
But I mean, we said a lot of times this nitrogen fixation. Let's say if someone from our audience who is watching this podcast or listening to this podcast and doesn't know what is nitrogen fixation, let's say if you can explain to maybe in layman terms.
I would like to do that. So there are a few plants which have the ability to fix nitrogen. So nitrogen, basically the atmospheric, we all know that the atmospheric nitrogen, like the nitrogen in atmosphere, it consists of about 70-80% of the total gases, right? But because this nitrogen is N2, they are in the form of N2, triple bond, it is very difficult to reduce the bond.
Okay.
Right. So there are many natural phenomena that we know, like during lightning or nitrification, denitrification, all these processes, they just break down this atmospheric nitrogen, reduce the bonds, and by that the plants get this nitrogen from the soil. But there is another mechanism by which plant also get nitrogen. So there are some bacteria in soil which are called rhizobia. They have the machinery to fix this atmospheric nitrogen into a form that can be used by all the living organisms, basically plants. And among plants, only legumes have the ability to associate with rhizobia.
Associate, okay.
With rhizobia. Right.
Okay.
So they interact with this rhizobia. Then we call it a form of endosymbiosis.
Okay.
Because these legumes, they develop a new organ, which is very surprising. So when the rhizobia comes in contact with all these roots, they form this like globular shaped structures in the roots, which we call root nodules.
Okay.
Then the bacteria get inside into those structures, and there they fix the atmospheric nitrogen.
Oh. So it's like a kind of a specific hub,
Yeah,
you can say,
yeah.
in simple terms.
Yeah, it is a dedicated organ for nitrogen fixation.
Okay.
and yeah, then the bacteria provide the plant all this fixed nitrogen, which is basically ammonium in the form of ammonium ion. Then plant provide all the carbon sources that the bacteria need for their survival.
And, I mean, I'm just curious, and I'm also in from the background of genetics, so I'm just thinking whether there is some genetic involvement, like some, let's say, if there are some specific genes which are responsible for making this special organ, what you mentioned, and if we, let's say, mutate that, so is there any like hindration or something with the nitrogen fixation?
Yeah, so like I was saying, this research is very new. So the first gene that has been cloned, that we knew that this gene is dedicated for nitrogen fixation, it was identified in 1999. So yeah, there are a group of genes which are dedicatedly, the plants, these legumes have evolved dedicatedly for nitrogen fixation, nuclear formation. If you mutate them, you won't see any nitrogen fixation.
Okay.
So yeah.
So that means that is the main gene which is doing all this purpose for them. And let's say if some plants already have that kind of mutation, or maybe that cannot absorb nitrogen, so it might be also possible that overexpressing these genes might be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
In certain plants, maybe, or in some reasons, maybe plants cannot. I mean, I'm just asking as like I'm not from that background, so I'm asking in a very layman type questions.
I understand.
Yeah.
So these are the basic, like you say, the mutations and overexpression. These are the basic experiments that we do in labs, in a molecular lab, to figure out what is the function of this gene, right? So yeah, you rightly said that. For example, if you, let's say you are focusing on chickpea, and if you collect chickpea varieties from, let's say, from India, from different parts of India, some variety would not associate with the rhizobia, right? Then you can put some gene, like this called this is natural variation, right? So you then you can look into the genome of that particular variety, what is lacking in that particular variety, chickpea variety. Then you can put that gene and see if it is behaving in a normal way, if it is again able to fix nitrogen.
So, like, I mean, we are talking a lot about this soil and nitrogen fixation, but let's start with very basic, like, since I mean, soil is very important for crops and many plants. So, what are the like very, how to say, nutrition kind of thing for soil to which can be beneficial for some crops or plants? Let's say some farmers, or maybe some kids or someone from a farmer background, if they are watching, and if they want to improve their crop, or maybe if they want to learn more about these things, and that's why we are creating this podcast to simplify the lab form of this scientific research to a science communication form in a very simple word. So yeah, it will be really nice if you could just walk us through.
So now, look, in India and all over the world, many people are working on different to improve the soil health. So there are basically now, currently we have most of the labs, their research mostly focused on nitrogen deficiency in soil and phosphorus deficiency.
Okay.
So these are the two macronutrients for now. They are deficient in soils all over the world, in agricultural lands. So yeah, so people are adding synthetic fertilizers to soil to mitigate this problem.
So just to interrupt you here, so it is possible to kind of externally enhance or maybe provide nitrogen or phosphorus or all this micronutrient what you mentioned. It is possible.
It is possible by synthetic fertilizer. Like you must have heard about this Bosch-Haber process, where you by this process you can produce nitrogen in factory. So all this NPK is very popular. NPK fertilizer, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium.
Isn't it bad for long term for soil health?
It's bad. It's really bad, because if you see the green revolution that we all know, like in school textbooks, we all know green revolution. So this was about applying all these synthetic fertilizers to counter the nutrient deficiency in soil and increase the productivity, right? And we all followed all over the world, every country, like all of the countries they followed, and in India we also followed it. And now you see all this addition of synthetic fertilizers, they have led to eutrophication. Eutrophication means the water bodies, they are filled with algae, all this green algae,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So when this water from agricultural fields where you add all these NPK, synthetic fertilizers, they run off, and with them they bring all these nutrients.
Okay.
Or during rain, right?
So-
Over irrigation or rain. So they bring all these nutrients with them to these water bodies, and then you get to see all this algae, all these kinds of.
Okay.
water
So it's not
organisms.
only bad for the soil health, but
Yeah.
also for water bodies,
bodies.
as well.
And
And,
yeah,
if
and
we are drinking that water, then
Yeah.
for humans as well, at the
Yeah.
end, I mean, from both water as well as from crop, I
Yeah.
guess we can get some, maybe, I don't know, some elemental form of that. For example, I mean, I'm not sure, but like, for example, some people have seen in rice that there is accumulation of heavy metals.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
example, arsenic or
Yeah,
something.
right.
So maybe it is coming from pesticides or whatever
Yeah.
fertilizer what we are using.
Usually fertilizers don't contain these heavy metals. Sometimes these pesticides they contain these heavy metals. So if you overuse them, you get all these heavy metals in the soil on the surface of the crops, and when
Okay.
you consume them, you have these
Okay.
heavy metals in your system.
So in this case, what would be a kind of solution thing? What would be your suggestion? Because everyone wants to have like a better productivity in terms of crop and all these things, and that's why people use all this fertilizer, synthetic fertilizer. So I mean, on the other hand, we do have this kind of organic fertilizers which are somewhat good.
Yeah.
But what would be some other alternative, let's say, solutions for that?
Okay. So, like now we are moving towards finding a better solution instead of applying synthetic fertilizers. So, best solution, if you ask me, I would say the best solution is the approaches that we used to study in our textbooks in school.
Okay.
Crop rotation, using all these cow dungs, all their animal excretas.
Yeah, so that's
and-
basically like kind of organic fertilizer itself.
organic
Yeah.
farming,
Yeah.
that is now like on high,
Yeah.
right? But now from the research that I'm doing molecular biology. So now people are trying to install all these genetic circuits from legumes into cereals. So now the legume can fix nitrogen. So the genetic network that they have for this nitrogen fixation, if you can install or engineer those networks in cereals like crops or wheat or barley, sugarcane, then you can now these cereals which need all these nutrients, they can fix atmosphere this nitrogen by themselves. They can associate with rhizobia and they can fix nitrogen.
So kind of genetically modified
Yeah,
cereals,
genetically
but it won't be like affecting the actual product, but maybe genetic
Yeah,
modification
yeah.
in the roots or somewhere which can fix the
Yeah.
nitrogen,
So
right?
basically, you're trying to eliminate the fertilizers totally from the scene, and you are allowing the plant, all the cereals, to acquire nutrients by themselves,
Okay.
right? So it won't affect the quality of the product, the fruits or let's say the leaves that if you consume them, but it will make the plants healthy and the fruits more nutritious,
Okay.
right? And yeah, it shouldn't affect the produce. And I'm thinking about a question. So I know in India and in Europe, many people say that all these GMOs, genetically modified crops or organisms, they're harmful for health if you consume them.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, I had like a related question to this, because what I consider, I mean, it's just my point of view that these genetically modified organism or plants, they might kind of induce this kind of environmental stresses to other maybe plants or other microbes.
Okay.
That's my point of view. I
No,
don't know.
that's
It
right,
would be
that's right.
good to hear your point of view on this, because you're working in similar area to this, so you can provide more insight. So, for example, let's say if we do some genetic modification in cereals or some crops, would it like affect any microbes which are let's say having colonies in these specific crops? Would it maybe somehow
This should
inhibit their colony or something, or biofilm kind of thing? Or?
They will affect.
Okay.
But we really don't care about that.
Okay.
Right. When we started doing agriculture, at that point we started disturbing all these microcolonies, all these microbes in the soil.
Okay.
When you like create agriculture, you clean a field and you start doing agriculture there, you grow a certain kind of plant there, you start already disturbing the microbiome there in the soil,
Yeah,
right?
true.
And now our goal is to feed this population, this 8 billion
Yeah.
people, right? So we really don't care about what is going to happen there. And yeah. Uh, and when you are adding so many synthetic fertilizers there, all this nutrient in the soil, they're also because
At the end, it is affecting
Yeah.
humans. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
better than like
So,
affecting humans. Better to affect the microbes maybe,
Yeah.
which might not be also beneficial for maybe crops or maybe for the next crop. Yeah.
But it's unhealthy, I would say. Like, again, I would go to our textbooks. People say the crop rotation is the best approach
Yeah.
doing this agriculture. But nowadays, people are a bit lazy. I would say I'm from Odisha. I've seen all these things firsthand. I went to all these agricultural fields in my village. I've seen how people do this. So some people, like on my grandparents were sincere. They were hardworking. So they would always do rice. Then in the Ravi season, they would like propagate some mung or some arhar. But I have seen many fields, they stay empty during Ravi season. They only grow rice. So by that, again, how should I say, you're disturbing the microbiome there. And the rice, when they grow, when they produce all these the seeds, they take out all the nutrients from the soil, right?
Yeah.
Then in the next season you have to again add some synthetic fertilizers.
Yeah.
And if you in those fields, if you grow, let's say, moong or some legume, right, in the Ravi season, they will fix nitrogen. All these legumes will fix nitrogen during Ravi season. Now you have nitrogen in the soil, which the rice can use in the next Kharif season.
Yeah.
Right. So, and yeah, adding synthetic fertilizers. So your question was about microbiome.
Yeah.
Right? Your concern was about microbiome. What will happen to the microbes in the soil? It will definitely affect. And my take will be they are already getting affected.
Yeah.
By growing a certain kind of plant and by applying all these pesticides, all these synthetic fertilizers, we are already affecting.
And economically also, for example, let's say, I mean, over the time, if they are using synthetic fertilizers, maybe their land will not be that much productive enough, which will affect economy, farmers' economy, because at the end, it's farmers who are growing that. And if they are using this kind of traditional method, what you pointed out from the textbooks, this crop rotation, then it's not only beneficial for soil health, but also beneficial for farmers as well, because they have, as you said, that some farmers, they have empty land during this Ravi season or something. So instead of that, if they grow something, some other crops or something, they can generate some revenue out of that, right? So economically, I think it is good.
Yeah, and you don't have to spend for fertilizers in the next season.
Yes, yeah, that's also again beneficial for the economy.
And one more thing, like farmers are like, the farmers in India, right?
Yeah.
If somebody says, some agricultural officer comes to the village, he held some kind of workshop, and they tell that this is a fertilizer and you have to add this much amount in the soil. But they would think, no. So the officer is selling this amount. Let's double the amount.
Yeah.
And we'll get more food. Right?
Yeah. So in this aspect, what would be your kind of solution, or not solution, but let's say maybe what would you say that how we can improve this thing, or what we should do to aware farmers to not overuse this synthetic fertilizers or maybe some other things which is not good for the long run for their land.
So now I would say
I mean, social media is one of the platform for sure, but other than that,
so now the condition of farmers in India is really, really bad. So in last decade, we have more than 11,000 farmers committing suicide in last decade, and in 2022, in only Maharashtra, I think we have more than 3,000 farmers have committed suicide. So the condition is really bad. So I wouldn't say that from next year you completely eliminate synthetic fertilizer and do organic farming, because Sri Lanka did this in 2021 or 2022, if I remember correctly. And when they completely switched to organic farming in a single year, their rice production dropped to 40%. So they have to import food from outside. So I wouldn't say this to emulate that in India. You take time to slowly change the system. You add synthetic fertilizers at the same time. Instead of completely eliminating, you started using you start reducing the use of synthetic fertilizer. At the same time, you just do this crop rotations.
Yeah.
And you use some varieties, some like varieties which are, because the economic condition of farmer is also important.
Yeah, indeed.
So you use some varieties which are very resistant to all kinds of environmental conditions, and which has better productivity. We have so many varieties by IARI. We have, like for rice, wheat, we have so many different varieties, better varieties now coming into the market. So you can use them.
Yeah. And what's that term? I don't know, because I'm not from that background where people like do this multi-cropping system.
Yeah, multi-cropping.
Yeah. So what I have, I don't know if I've seen in some documentary or somewhere. So there was one person who had like some crops, and then on top of that he had something other thing.
Yeah. So like in a greenhouse, like in a greenhouse.
No, not in greenhouse. It was in open environment,
Okay.
and also he had a pond. So from that pond he had fish and everything, and he was using that water to for irrigation.
Okay. Cool.
So in that video it was mentioned that maybe this water has more nitrogen or something, and it was also acting as a fertilizer, because of this fecal matter from fish.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah.
so
That is
this kind of thing. And for that fish he was using like he has a net on top of the pond, and there were chickens.
Yeah.
And then so it was like 100% organic thing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. This
And
is
reusing all the things.
everything. It's a very beautiful setup. I have never seen such video, but I know many people are doing this.
Okay.
At least in my family, I have one Jija who is doing this.
Okay.
So yeah, they have a chicken farm, and beneath that they have this fish ponds, and they are using this water to irrigate the garden they have nearby.
And it's I think beneficial, right?
It's a very sustainable system.
Yeah,
You don't have to put anything from outside.
Nice. And so you also mentioned about this symbiosis thing, especially about the microbes. And so wouldn't it be also a kind of alternative solution to use, like instead of using genetically modified crops, using these microbes which can fix the, let's say, nitrogen, if that is the sole problem for the plants? Then if we use this microbes which are fixing, or bacteria which are fixing the nitrogen.
So like this is a really great idea, and I am very sure many scientists have already thought about this. But the problem is we don't really know much about these microbes, how they behave in the soil, and what shape their community, all this biofilm formation, we really don't know much about them. And there is one more obstacle to this. So all these legumes, they are really specific. That means they will interact with a particular strain of rhizobia, particular species of rhizobia. I don't know if you can use this species for bacteria. I really don't know.
Yeah.
So this, So let's say chickpea. It has its own rhizobia.
Okay.
So it will not interact with the rhizobia that associate with peanut. So they are highly specific.
Okay. So that is the problem.
Yeah,
Kind of
and
drawback.
And this rhizobia will also not interact with any cereal because they don't have any genetic system. They don't have the receptors to recognize this rhizobia.
That is the problem.
That is the main problem.
Yeah. I mean, this thought I just got because of, again, out of curiosity and just as a layman, because I'm not into that research. So thank you very much for
providing
providing
this.
this.
There is one more side to this also. Let's say you engineer a rice variety with all these genes from chickpea, the genes which are required for nitrogen fixation.
Okay.
Right. Now you have a plant with ability to fix nitrogen or with genetic circuit. You grow them in a agriculture field, and you spray or you add the rhizobia, the chickpea rhizobia, into that soil. Now you are expecting your rhizobia will associate with this rice variety and will fix nitrogen.
Yeah.
But the main problem is, in that soil you don't know what are the microbes present. Now this rhizobia have to compete with all those microbes to be in such a number so that it can interact with the roots. So there are many layers of obstacles to this.
Okay.
So I would say the textbooks approaches, they are low hanging fruits, and all these sophisticated genetically modified crops, these are high hanging fruits.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say this, but I personally believe so all the molecular biologists, we are doing everything only for funding to get a life out of this.
I think every one of us are kind of doing this because we are scientists, we are curious. uh, we don't exactly know that whether it will be beneficial for humankind.
Yeah.
But at least we are doing because we are curious. We want to know more.
Yeah, but
Maybe someday.
yeah,
Maybe
but
someday.
we are getting the funding by saying that we want to feed the population, we want to increase the productivity, we want to engineer this, that.
Yeah, otherwise
Right. Yeah,
we will
right,
not get
yeah,
the funding.
right, right, right.
Yeah, so we somehow we have to connect it with human and
Yeah.
kind of beneficial effect of that. Otherwise, yeah,
Yeah.
how we will do all this research.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
Okay.
yeah, my personal
Yeah.
thought is like the country like India doing all this kind of sophisticated research is a luxury. Like European countries and US can afford this. In India, we should focus on translational research now. Like you take their science,
Yeah.
their finding, you just translate that.
Yeah, true. But I think we also need to have more of this awareness kind of things. Maybe awareness campaign or more of scientists interacting with farmers, maybe.
Yeah, right.
So we have talked a lot about this thing, about the nitrogen fixation and all this solutions, and a little bit about the problems as well. But what are the like kind of actual root cause of these things?
So why the farmers are not doing these crop rotations, that well-established approaches
Yeah.
to sustainable agriculture, right? So first of all, so in India, you see, so apart from Punjab, in all the states, I believe that we have only smallholder farmers. They have only small area, and with all this formation of these nuclear families, the lands are again getting divided,
Yeah.
and they're becoming smaller and smaller with the time, right? And now with the smaller land, so the hard work that you put into farming and all the resources that you put into this farming, you don't get the return. And there are many factors. For example, now we have this unpredictable environmental conditions, right? The weather is not in the same sequence as it is used to be a few decades earlier, right? So now you can have rain in winter, in summer. So even I have experienced this thing. So in my PhD, I worked with peanut. So I was doing root nodule symbiotic research in peanut, and we had a small land in our institute. So I was growing peanut, and so in New Delhi, because it is cold, it gets really cold during winter. So you have only the option to grow them during summer. So you start sowing the seed in by March end or April 1st, and you harvest them before the rain. That means at the end of August or first or second weeks of September. So at that time, you always pray that the rain shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But now, like I was there in 6 year in New Delhi, and for 4 years, at least for 4 years, we had heavy rain in August, in July. And when it rains, your peanuts, they just get infected with fungus and they become soggy. So they germinate in the soil. So I am like I was doing PhD. I was doing the highest academic degree, and we have all the funding with us. We had all field workers with us, and with all these resources and manpower, we couldn't able to
Handle
do
all
anything
this,
to
So
secure our
how
harvest. Right?
common farmer will do.
So, and we had Google, we had already research, like the research-based approaches, and we are in communication with agricultural scientists. We're continuously discussing with them what should we do to protect our harvest, and we did not manage to protect the peanut harvest. So I was thinking about all these farmers which are not so educated, how they are managing all their harvest. So I was really sad looking at my harvest that time. And one more thing, because you are a smallholder farmers, so you using large instruments, all the agricultural machines and instruments, they are very expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
And one more thing, because I had the first-hand experience about this. So when I was child, in my maternal village, we had large croplands because my uncles were together in a joint family.
Okay.
Now they have separated, and with that separation, they have divided. The lands are also divided, and so due to all these weather conditions and all this resource input into due to all these irregularities, you don't get the expected return at the end of the season. right?
Yeah.
And now, because you don't get the input that you are putting into your land, so you switch. Now then you switch to some different occupation.
Mm-hmm.
And there at that time we had Hindustan Unilever garage. Uh, it started running there, and many small industries also started in that area. So
Okay.
most of the farmers, including my uncles and my grandfather, they started going to that industry.
Mm.
So they took up small jobs. Now they are up quite up in the hierarchy in those industries. But at that time, with small, let's say, 300 or 400 rupees of daily wage, they started doing those jobs.
Yeah.
So then they ignored. So now they don't have the time, or they don't have the, after hard working in the industry for the whole day,
Yeah.
they don't have the energy to do the hard work in field.
And maybe also the motivation.
The motivation,
Yeah.
because they are getting the money from there, so
Yeah.
they don't need to depend on agriculture.
Mhm.
Still, even till date, they are doing only rice. So
Okay.
they are not doing the Rabi season.
Okay.
They are not growing any moong, urad, and arhar they used to do 20 years back.
Okay.
Because that is extra effort, and in winter you don't want to
Yeah.
go
That's
early to the field, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is one more thing. So yeah, this unpredictable weather, climate conditions, and lack of money in this agriculture. So
But why lack of money? I mean, I never understand this point, because the thing is, uh, we are human beings, and we always, like, we want these crops or food items, let's say, which are farmers are producing. Then why there is a still economical problem to farmers who are producing these stuff? But is it because of the middleman, or maybe political policies, or or some other reasons? Because I mean, this environmental factor, what you mentioned,
yeah,
we cannot change anything.
yeah,
So
right.
it's natural calamity, and it's not in our hand.
Okay, right.
But in our hand, what we have is all the policies, or maybe some facilities which can be
Yeah.
provided by government, or political
Yeah.
leaders, or maybe by NGOs who are supporting maybe farmers. Uh, Other thing is maybe awareness, or again kind of reusing this crop rotation system. So if you can highlight on these
Yeah.
points as well, apart
So,
from this natural things, disasters.
I would say everything is about money. If they get good money out of this farming, they will again start doing agriculture routinely, or in a more dedicated way, I would say, right? And now about policies, we have so many policies in place for helping agriculture. The income from the agriculture or agriculture related businesses is tax free in India,
Okay.
right? Then that's why MS Dhoni is doing farming. He has farm, right?
Oh.
Then there are policies. I would say there is a lack of awareness among farmers,
Okay.
and many these officers, these government officers, sometimes they don't go that frequently to villages.
And
to
maybe they are corrupted as well.
corrupted, yeah. That is also a point.
Yeah.
And they don't really care about, because what my grandfather has told me, that they would come and hold a workshop once in 6 months. They will say, yeah, these are the seeds, these are the fertilizers, only for half an hour. They are not really putting that much effort into improving the system, improving the entire agriculture at the grassroots level, right? So that is one of the problem. Then yeah, there is, but we have policies. There are many NGOs which are working to improve the condition at the ground level. But again, like NGOs, how I don't think they would be able to reach out to all these farmers
Yeah.
at large, right?
Yeah,
They will be
yeah,
focused on a particular village.
Yeah.
So, and this is like, you can't really bring changes in a very large area. Like, you have to start from a very
Yeah.
small area, and from a small population. And if you can bring some change there, then you can explore big villages, or big, let's say, some district with your approaches, right? But yeah, for policies are there. But the problem is with like they are smallholder farmers. And like PhD, the agriculture, I believe agriculture is like a PhD.
Yeah.
Some season you will get results, some season you won't get anything.
Yeah. True.
And if you like, if you see the mango season, with mango harvesting, so like in 4 or 5 year cycle, we get only like depends on variety of mango, but in Odisha, in every three year you get good mango harvest only in a single year. So if
Okay.
you this year if you are getting good mango harvest, for next 2 years you are not going to get anything
Oh,
because now the soil is exhausted with all the
yeah,
nutrients.
yeah.
So the plant wait for the next 2 seasons for the nutrient to accumulate. So like it's like this. So in agriculture, I believe it's the same way. So if you are getting good harvest in 2 seasons, on the third season you might not get good harvest.
Okay.
So they have to change their approach. For example, if you are growing cereal, in Ravi you can grow some legumes like mung, urad, and arhar. Then at the same time, you can grow some seasonal vegetables.
Yeah.
These
True.
vegetables will give you some income,
Yeah.
will give you some benefit.
Or maybe, I mean, I think it can be also one of the solution, this multi-cropping
Yeah,
system.
multi-cropping.
Because then you are not dependent on one thing. For example, if you have a larger land or even a smaller land,
Yeah.
and if you're growing only one crop, let's say rice or something, and maybe some natural disaster or something happens, then all your crop is gone.
Gone, yeah.
But if you have multi-cropping system or some approaches,
Right, right.
because I'm not aware of all these
Yeah, no,
approaches,
right,
I just assuming there might be some alternative approaches. So let's say if one crop fails, at least you will have
Yeah.
something in backup.
Backup, right.
And that's what we do in research as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
We keep backup of backup so that if experiments
Yeah.
fail, we have something in backup at least, so that we don't have to wait for longer time. And maybe that approach can be used.
But yeah, but in research
for
lab,
the
you have funding, you have all the kits, you have all the resources, right?
For sure, for sure. I mean, it will not come next day.
Yeah.
It needs to have a lot of things. For example, policy changes, maybe help from government or NGOs, as well as awareness
Yeah.
from maybe scientists or some NGO
right.
volunteers who can maybe organize not the workshop thing, but at least to aware them that okay,
Yeah.
this is also economically better option or
Yeah.
approach. Yeah.
So in this point, I would say the first thing that for smallholder farmers, it is really difficult to set up all these things. This multi farming setup, it is very difficult for them.
Yeah.
Uh, then I would say there is some lacking in our policies that we have. Let's say we don't have enough cold storages. Because my father used to have a shop in Godown in Cuttack, and that is the largest vegetable godown of Odisha. So I have seen, because I also went to go with him to this godown. We call that Mal Godam.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I have seen people bring their local farmers during winter. They bring their desi tomatoes, which are small in
Yeah.
size. They bring to the market. They sell it for 50 paisa, like 50 paisa per kg. And at the end of the day, they still have a lot of, let's say, 1 or 2 tractors of tomato with them, and they don't have the money to take that back to their village. So they throw everything there, just throw there on the road.
Oh.
They throw everything. Now you see, if we would have more cold storages, then we could have put all those things in those cold storages, right? So we don't have proper cold storage system across the country. Then we have middlemen,
Yeah.
right?
Then in this case, what I have not seen, but what I have heard that in Europe, whenever they produce any, let's say, for example, tomato or something, they immediately goes through washing and all these things, and then they freeze it. So it's like fresh.
Yeah.
So instead of going into the farmer market, they freeze it, and maybe I don't know if they keep it in cold storages, or maybe goes to supermarkets or so. So at least it's kind of not getting wasted
Yeah, right.
with that approach. So indeed, you are right that we need maybe more cold storages or these kind of facilities where maybe some bigger MNCs,
Yeah.
if they are contacting especially the small scale farmers, rather than like approaching to one big farmer, maybe approach 10 small scale farmers and collect from them, because they can get it cheaper, and maybe they can get some different variety as well.
Yeah.
So just a kind of assumption or a speculation.
You're right.
What's your point of view on this?
With MNCs, I would say that we had this farmer protest last year, right?
Yeah,
Last year,
yeah.
2022. So with MNC coming into this business, that is another totally another scenario. They will bring a lot of things with them, and they can really manipulate the farmers, and even it can lead to degradation of the current scene, the current situation that we have.
Okay.
Right. So I wouldn't totally believe on this MNCs. Like we can the policies that we had in that contract in the farm law, we we can have some modification to that law that the protesters, the farmers from Punjab and Haryana, they were demanding. Like with some modification, that might be useful, right? It's a very difficult situation. Right? It totally depends on state to state. You have to use different strategies how want to solve this matter. So yeah, you need more cold storages, and government have to do something. The state government, they have to come with their own ideas how they want to solve this, because I think in India we have different states and we have different weather conditions, and the crop that we cultivate is also different in different states, right? And yeah, one more thing, like these farmers, they go to these middlemen, these bicholis, for loans, right? So there are many schemes, there are many government schemes in place. They give farmers loan at a very cheap, very low interest. Still, because farmers are less educated, or they don't want to go into all this hassle, this banking hassle. They just go to this middlemans, and they get
the money easily.
with much higher interest.
Yeah.
Then after a few years, when they can't return the money, and then they just commit suicide.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so solution to this, I would say intelligent farming. If still you are a small farmer, you are a small holder farmer. Let's say if I put myself in a small holder farmer's position, I would not I would not cultivate this crops which require a lot of resources and manpower, like rice, wheat, or even legumes. They also take a lot of effort and resources. So I would start doing some fancy things that we have really started now in India, like avocado.
Yeah, actually in Punjab and Haryana, you see these farmers who are like now shifting to this fancy farming. For example, mushroom or avocados, which are like if it will directly go into a market and you get the money and much higher rate.
Yeah.
So
Strawberries, everything, all these things. Or you can grow kesar even in a greenhouse.
Yeah, that's also possible. Yeah. So maybe farmers have to think a little bit in futuristic way, especially farmers' kids. If they are watching this podcast or maybe listening to this podcast, then maybe they should inform their maybe neighbors, neighborhood farmers also, so that they can do all these changes. Or maybe because many of the farmers, especially small scale farmers, might not be aware of these things, that there is this solution as well, because we lack kind of education in this sector as well. Again, because we are not giving that much priority to farmers, and that is the reason we lack education in that, and they don't know what are the options or what solutions they can use in terms of organic fertilizer or some multi-cropping system or this crop rotation maybe. So yeah, indeed we need to have this education as well.
Right.
Maybe
again, you also need a little bit awareness about this. Let's say for mushroom farming, you just need only 20 or 25 or 30,000 to put up a greenhouse kind of thing, and you grow mushroom there, right, in a very small area. Then you can put up a let's say greenhouse where you can grow this let's say avocado or some passion fruit, dragon fruit, which is now
quite popular.
And you can grow some fancy flowers. Like let's say during Valentine's season, you can grow roses. Yeah. Like in some puja season, you grow some
genda fool.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you have to.
Yeah, in Maharashtra, actually, some of the farmers, they are quite, I would say, efficient in this way. So they are like in this season thing as well as, I mean, not everywhere in the Maharashtra, but like close to metropolitan cities like maybe Pune or Mumbai. So you will see that they produce these flowers sometimes, or these kind of fruits which are not typically available in India, but because of this greenhouse and everything, they make it available because you don't have to import, so you don't have to pay extra charges for that, and then you can sell it in normal
At a
price.
much cheaper price, right? And when you become so focused with what you're farming or what you're growing, you also know exactly where you have to sell that in your place.
Yes.
You become focused,
Yeah.
right? And you have a very unique thing to sell, so people will come to you, to directly to you to buy that thing.
True. Yeah.
So they have to think a little intelligently. At the same time, government and government have to like reinforce the awareness policies. Like the government has to set up some workshops in all these villages, remote villages. So it's, I would say the people have to come forward. All these farmers, they have to come a little forward. They have to be aware how, because agriculture for me is a necessity for our country. At the
Yes.
same time, it can be very profitable if you know how to do
Yeah,
it.
that is the thing. That's what I wanted to mention as well, that it's not a I mean, you can see this thing as a business as well,
Yeah.
because you will generate revenue, but
Yeah.
you have to make a strategy,
Yeah.
nice strategy. And I request, like many people who say that, especially in India, people say that unemployment rate is high, and if you look for these people, they have lands as well,
Right.
like cultivating lands. I mean, they can use this as an opportunity. I mean, yeah, it's good to have a secured job for sure, but why not maybe
But-
go with this option as
yeah.
well? Yeah?
If you have even your,
If you're educated,
yeah.
if you're educated and you know all these options,
Yeah.
you know the policies, then you can use it in a positive and for your advantage, right? So
Even if you are already doing a job, when as a side business, you can start these
Yes,
things.
yes.
And you, like, if you start doing, and if you start getting profit from this, you can inspire some farmers around
Yes,
your
yes,
area. And again, it's tax free.
yes.
Right.
Actually, there are some like kind of people who are inspiring, and there is one person in Patna in Bihar who has done PhD actually in same agricultural field.
Okay. Yeah.
So he did his PhD, I guess, in Australia, and after finishing his PhD, he went back to his village, started this farming,
Yeah.
like different multi-crop and everything, like fishery with pond and some crops, different crops, especially these fancy fruits, what you mentioned.
yeah.
And now he's generating nice revenue,
Yeah, cool.
as well as he's organizing free workshop for small farmers
Farmers, yeah. That's
to
the right
educate them that what they can do.
Yeah.
And if some farmers, if they don't have land or very small land, then they help them to kind of have employment.
Yeah,
So
right, yeah.
it's also nice. I mean, you are generating revenue as well as giving employment, to other people.
Yeah.
So you should look in a positive sense, like this way. Yeah. So
And I know there are a few YouTube channels. So in their channels, they're actually showing how to do all this kind of mixed farming, where you can grow your rice at the same time you can grow some vegetables. By putting up a greenhouse, you can grow all these things. So there are a few channels which I follow them, and I really like the way they explain the things. And there is a channel, I don't remember the name exactly. That person, he designs his own makeshift instruments, machines, just from
Scratch.
like scratch. They're very cheap, and for 1,000 or 2,000, he makes really
Jugaad.
Yeah, jugaad by this spending this 2,000. He makes really cool instruments.
That's nice. So I mean, that's where our scientific mind comes. I mean, indeed, we do have this scientific mind in India, like everywhere, because as I said, jugaad. We use this jugaad, so why not use it in farming land as well, agriculture. So just to sift a little bit, because we also talked about a lot farmer and these things. So European farmers, I mean, I see that they are quite not, I would say rich, but yeah, they are
They're rich.
prosperous.
They're even
And,
richer than us.
they, indeed.
Professors in India.
Yeah, and so I don't want to compare, but what can we learn from them? That is it because of their education they are doing better, or because of their policies they are doing better? Because indeed they are doing much better compared to Indian farmers.
First, I would say I don't really have enough knowledge about European policies and how they are doing the things. But yeah, they are rich. They are like, I would say they have much larger croplands than India. So the problem here is not about, so with population you bring a lot of difficulties in your lives in your country,
Yeah.
right? And I am very sure that they have a really good policy in place. They have good cold storage system. They have to have a good cold storage
Yeah,
system
yeah,
because
yeah,
they have a like severe winter
yeah.
here, right? And so I don't know about much about Europe, but in Australia, I know. Like in Australia, they because their population is low and they have large croplands, so they use helicopters to spray fertilizers or seeds to sow seeds.
Oh.
So they are really advanced, and the science like if you have seen here, people in let's say in people who are doing cancer research here, they are getting the samples from Uniclinic.
Yeah.
Right. So they, if they find something unique, they give it to the research wing, and they do research on that particular problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like instead of just picking up something which is very trendy now
Yeah.
in world
Yeah.
research forum. So we are in India. I really believe that we have to focus what are the issues which are going on locally. What is their issue? Try to address those issues instead of just trying to get really good publications and try to become a big scientist.
So
right?
instead of increasing your number of publications,
Publications.
people should work towards having some impact,
Yeah, so
real impact.
some real ground level impact,
yeah.
which I
But then here it comes with the funding thing again, because you get funding for all these trending things, and for that we need these science policy makers
yeah,
who have to kind of advocate for them,
that's right.
that okay, we do have to do this trendy thing research, but also the real problems at the ground level what we are having, we should solve that as well. So I think it's also the responsibility of not only of the government, because government, they don't know about that. So here comes the policy makers or science policy. I don't know much about like in India if we have this kind of science policy makers, but I know from Europe that yeah, they do have science policy makers. Is also in US they do have, who are acting as a advocate for common people and government in between, because they are the one who kind of decide. For example, these funding agencies, how they know that okay, I have to fund in this project, because they are getting money specifically for that sector from government. And policy makers, science policy makers, they are the one who are kind of providing the insights on that. So maybe in India also, or I mean all over the world it's going good, but maybe in India we need better policy makers.
So in India we have we have position for scientific advisor to the PM. We have this position. So I'm sure that he or she is a person who brings all these issues to the knowledge of the PM or PM office, right? So I have been all my in my so short research career, I have been doing molecular research. So I don't know exactly what is going on in agricultural line.
Okay.
But I strongly believe, because I had a senior in my lab who was from agricultural university.
Yeah.
So things are going really slow there.
Okay.
And it is slow. Like the process is really slow. If you want to release a variety, that's a variety which is weather resistant or some pathogen resistant, it takes somewhere between 10 to 15 years. So you start doing identifying that line.
Okay.
You do some research, initial research. After you conclude that yeah, this is the line that I want to release in the market, you have to wait for 10 to 15 years, because you need a lot of land field trials. We call them field trials. You grow them in different conditions in different states, and you see how the plant is performing, and how if it is able to withstand all these weather conditions, climatic condition, and it is able to withstand some other pathogen attack. If it is resistant to one particular pathogen attack, if it is resistant to other pathogen attacks. So you see a lot of things. There are a lot of parameters which are there. You have to take them, then you release them into the market. So it takes minimum 10 years.
Even in other research field also, we go through this basic research, and then it takes years to have a beneficial on the humankind. So can this, so these days AI is very trending and useful in many sectors,
Yeah.
not only in research but different sector. Do you think AI can also somehow contribute to maybe farming sector? I mean, I know you are not from like specific to that, and I'm asking a lot of this farming question because that is the kind of
No, that's really good point that you have made with AI.
because let's say maybe for weather prediction we can use, or soil health, or maybe I don't know, it can be used for multi purposes, right? This AI.
Right, yeah. You can predict all these things. But in India, I think this would be difficult with the education level of our farmers. Like in big, like the agricultural states like Punjab, Haryana, where the farmers are rich, they're quite rich.
Okay, yeah.
And they are well educated. So there, this using AI and all these technologies might have some impact. But in rural villages like from in Odisha, or let's say in Jharkhand, in Chhattisgarh, in Bihar, I don't think this will have enough impact. But again, yeah, you have to spread some awareness. The officers, government officers can go there, or some NGOs can go there and show them how to do this. Yeah, you can with AI you can predict weather, and even with AI we can.
So I've seen, I don't know if I've seen a video or something where, like, for example, if you have some infection in plant
Yeah.
leaf, then you just
Yeah.
open the app,
Some quick
and
diagnosis you can do.
that will tell you that what are the problems
Yeah.
and what solutions you can do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, farmers can do all this
Instantly.
quickly, yeah.
Right. So that is with Jio and with all these free laptops and free mobiles that the governments have been giving away in India. So yeah, with AI we can really use them, because if they can make reels, Instagram reels and YouTube Shorts, they can definitely
Use this as well,
use
yeah.
this.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, at least one should start that, and maybe let's say if 5 people will have beneficial effect, they will share to other 5 people, and maybe that's how awareness or information will spread through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And one more thing, like this is my personal belief. Let's say for funding, we are totally dependent in India, at least. We are totally dependent on government. Right here, I am a part of a multinational project. It is called INSA, and it is being funded by Bill Gates Foundation.
Okay.
Right. So like we have at least 8 or 10 labs from UK, France, Denmark, Germany, Netherlands. So we have come together to find out the genetic network that is required for nitrogen fixation, and they're trying to engineer barley and cassava. So there is a plant called cassava. It's a
Okay.
tuber. It forms a tuber in Africa. So they're trying to engineer this barley and cassava with this nitrogen fixation circuit. So my point is, if they can do here, why can't we do it in India? We have Amani, we have Adani. If he can spend, like like I was watching some video. So in the video, the person was saying that Ambani, like persons from Ambani's
Family.
not family, like from their company,
Okay.
they contacted them, and they were trying to. So they was trying to give them some 5 lakhs, 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs.
Okay, to influencers.
Yeah, influence to influencers, and they are just trying to spread this thing that in this marriage, many people, many business tycoons are coming, and how this will positively affect Indian economy. So they are trying to sell this idea. So they are just if they are putting so much money just to improve their image in public. If you go to them and if you can pitch a really good idea, only for the sake of their image, they will be ready to fund you. And 15-20 crores is nothing for them.
True. Yeah.
So even some basic research where they won't get any benefit, still they will be, if you can sell yourself, you can advertise your project in a really very fancy way, they will be ready to.
And
fund
actually,
you.
not only in this agriculture field, but in most of the field, actually, we need this kind of collaborations with industry,
Right.
where not only government bodies are funding basic research, but also industries,
Right.
and they can also benefit from that.
Yeah.
Let's say if that research is successful, if we get some breakthrough,
Yeah.
that can be used for translational thing, right? Application based, maybe.
The monies are already doing, because when I started doing PhD, there is a scheme in India where you can. Uh, I don't exactly remember what is the scheme, but with that scheme, 50% of your salary, the government will give you 50% of your the requirement, and the industry will give you 50% of the funding.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
there is a policy in place, but I am not very sure how that is performing now.
I mean,
But
that kind of policies should be promoted more.
yeah. And if you are, and I am also in favor of private research laboratories. Now, if you see like the postdoc conditions here, we always talk about there is very high competition in India. We don't have any or good opportunities there, so they are staying here.
Yeah.
Right. So if some people can come together and they can go to all these Ambani, Adani, big industrialists, or at least Mahindra. I think Mahindra will fund if Ambani, if not Ambani, Adani, Mahindra will for sure will ready to fund some good research there. So you can open your private research. You have a translational wing where you can sell a product, and at the same time you can do basic research.
True. So now we have jumped to kind of academia and industry thing. So just to like kind of address this thing as well, that what would be your maybe kind of advice or tips to aspirants who are PhDs or maybe in their masters who would like to maybe go further for research? And also one other thing is the transition from PhD to maybe postdoc, or some people want to have a transition from academia to industry. So we would like to also discuss on that.